I owe a phenomenal debt to the IBM company because that's where I got my culture, which is respect for human dignity, best customer service in the world, and excellence in all endeavors. There were 4 computers in the state of Kentucky in 1958 when I started. Today there's probably over 4 million computers in the state of Kentucky. In 1964, started here in Louisville and went to Chicago. They wanted to start some new businesses within IBM. One of them was in what they call it in those days, telecommunications. Prior to that, computers were in great big rooms, sealed, and nobody but the geeks or anybody could get in there. So they wanted to start, how can you get regular people access to that big computer behind all those locked doors? We had a teletype machine in those days, is all we had. And they wanted to start a business trying to figure that out. And they also wanted to start a business on database management, which has become a big thing now also, but I'm talking 1964 and 65. I really liked that idea, and I was in the mainframe business, so I volunteered to go into that new business within the giant company. And I really liked it, and I became the manager of Chicago, and then over the manager of New York, and then assistant to national sales manager, still in IBM. But when a company's so big that 99% of their income is based on one area, it's hard to get attention in this new area, which was in telecommunications and in this database. So I thought I'd be there in IBM all my life, but there was a gentleman from here in Louisville named Dave Grissom, who was a young man at that time, and he kept coming up to Manhattan where I was and telling me that I should leave IBM and start a new business with them here in Louisville, that he had a group of investors that wanted to start a new business in time sharing. I thought he was nuts. Around 1980, like I said, my son Greg got out of college, Vanderbilt, and he began looking for what he could do. A banker who I had previously sold a computer to called me one day and he said, I've got some guys here that have a patent on a product, but they tried 3 times and gone bankrupt all 3 times, and they owe me $50,000. 1980. And he said, would you come over and take a look at it? So we went over and saw this patent, and this young gentleman had invented something that in my day, these refrigerators had a box on top of them where the iceman would put in a big brick of ice. And this guy had a patent that would push ice out of a box into a cup. It was an auger. So visualize ice in a box, and this auger would push it out. You could hold it down there. And that, again, in those days was revolutionary. Nobody had ever done that before, which is symptom of a lot of inventions. They're very simple. You're looking at them in the eye, but you don't see them. So anyway, we looked at that, and we looked at a lot of different things. They did have things in hotels where you would lift up the lid of the hotel, and then you'd scoop in there with your carafe and get ice out. Well, in those days, guys would come in for football games and empty it out. Little kids would do certain things in there and wouldn't be so good. So anyway, these were what we called hotel units, where you could literally put your hands in there, your shoes in there with the ice or anything. I had the feeling that someday that ice was going to be like food or meat or anything we were not going to be allowed to touch it. We took it, and there were still 2 people left there, the guy that invented another one, and we started, and Greg started that, and I became the coach. Ironically, at the same time, John Y. Brown, who was just then elected governor, who is a lifetime friend of mine, called me up to Frankfurt and wanted me to work at Frankfurt and help him out. The state was in total disarray on computers. Anybody in the state of Kentucky at that time that wanted a computer could buy it. There was no controls or nothing over there, spending 50, 60 million bucks a year, too much money. But anyway, so I went up to help him out. So Greg starts off with this deal, and I start coaching Greg on marketing, sales, and there were only 2 people there. I kept coming back and forth from Frankfurt every day, and Greg started grinding out. And next year, my second son comes out of Vanderbilt, and he wants to go to work for that company. So Greg is more in the business, financial, technical, however, also marketing. My other son is in the sales and manufacturing, although it's like putting widgets together. As I say, been with a big company and been with a public company. Never dreamed I'd have a family business. Now, in the biggest thrills, all my sons wanted to go work with me. So that really made me feel good. And the second lesson on that one was by getting this Servend started with just these 2 people and almost no business. Along around 1980, the guy calls us from St. Louis. Customer said, have you guys ever thought of putting this cold plate in the bottom of this machine? And we had never thought about that. We went about making that machine then eventually one you see every day now in convenience stores and fast foods and gas stations where you go in and get your cup and press the button, and they're really fancy now. The key thing in business is increasing your odds for success. It's a high-risk deal starting as an entrepreneur. Unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs, not unfortunately, it's just the way it is, they have a great idea and a great this and a great that, and that's wonderful. But to be successful and to increase your odds for success, no one person can do that. I don't care who it is. No one person has managerial skills, high-level technical skills, marketing skills, sales skills, administrative skills. Nobody has that. And some people think that they can do it all by themselves. So their odds for success are 0. You can't do it all by yourself. Some people can, think they can. I got all that background with IBM, so that when I did, quote, become an official entrepreneur, I knew I had to assemble a team that had these skills, because I didn't have them all. I had a couple. I had 5 or 6, that's what you need. I think one of my benefits was I was better prepared. Of course, I was older, I was 35, than a 22-year-old or 20 that has a brilliant idea and thinks he can pull it off himself. And along with these business things, it's very important that you build yourself personally and have personal goals and personal development ideas so that you become a complete person and not just an ego-oriented entrepreneur. And you can still be individual, but once you get a family and certain other things, you have to set these personal goals and be sure that you're in balance. I've always put my wife and family ahead of my business. Fortunately, I've never had to make that kind of a decision. I've always put my health above that, mental and physical. My wife and kids above that. So the key thing there is balance. Is that what good does it do? Some people do it. Put your whole life on your company and lose your family. That's not my deal. I'll lose my business before I lose my family.